Scientology is just a big, fat global scam.
Personally, and what I've observed for myself, is that Scientology is destructive and a ripoff, and that it's very, very dangerous for your spiritual, psychological, mental, emotional health and evolution. I think it stunts your evolution.
The Church of Scientology is promoting itself as an organization that can help people with whatever problem they have. But at the same time, they're denying me the right to contact my son. The whole time that they're telling the world that they're going to help them, they are deliberately destroying my family. My son is 24 years old. He joined the organization. He can't communicate with his family. For 10 years, I was a member of this cult. They wanted me to think like them. They wanted to control my time. They wanted to control my life. They even wanted to control my money. They took nearly $200,000 of my husband's money and mine just in the last 4 or 5 years. We haven't been able to get it back either. I can't even get my money back, and I have lost contact with my son. There's something wrong here. Someone needs to do something. And that's why I am communicating to you. My son and I have always been very, very close. And for him to be not even communicating with me at all right now, I know that he is being held against me.
Hill was raised in the church. Both her parents were high-ranking members of what's called the Sea Organization, or Sea Org. It is Scientology's version of the clergy, the group of people who essentially run the church.
What we're told is that they have to work so hard because they're helping other people. Your family isn't the most important thing.
From the age of 6 to 12, Jenna lived here at a Scientology-owned property in California that was known as the Ranch.
We lived in dormitories, and I would only see my parents once a week.
According to Jenna, life as a child was not very childlike.
It was like 6:30, wake up, you'd put on your uniform, you'd clean your room, somebody would stand in front and they would go to each line and they'd be like, Unit A, report. If you were late, you would get a chit, which would go to your ethics file, which they had one for everyone. One time a kid got a bucket of ice water dumped on top of his head when he was late, even though it was 6:30 in the morning.
She says 7 days a week, children as young as 6 had long days on the ranch. In addition to reading, writing, and arithmetic classes and studying Scientology, she says there were physical chores.
These projects range from rock hauling, taking rocks out of the creek, picking them up, hauling them up the hill, putting them in a pile, and these were usually to make rock walls.
As a little girl, she says she remembers weeding for hours.
And we would do this no matter how hot or how cold it was outside. One day I just got plucked out of my usual activities and by a very high representative in the church. And I was interrogated on the e-meter, and I was put into like a grubby uniform, and I was made to clean the back stairwell or clean and re-stain the stalls in the bathroom, and then I would go back and get more interrogation.
Jenna says there were times when she was physically restrained during auditing sessions.
There's been many times when I've tried to leave the room and they've physically held me in there, like physically to a point where I was yelling. And
very unhappy the whole time I was there, but this was something I never told anyone, my husband, my friends.
Astra Woodcraft was becoming disillusioned with the church.
They came out with a new rule. They said, that's it, no more kids.
And she was very upset when she was about 16 or 17 and said they suddenly decided to change the rules and that, you know, Sea Org members were no longer allowed to have children.
If you get pregnant when you're in the Sea Org, you either have to leave or you get an abortion. I know people who have gotten like up to 4 abortions.
I remember thinking, well, wait a minute, I never agreed to this. You know, I'm like 17 years old. I haven't made a decision. I'm not going to have children.
2 years after the policy was established, Astra learned she and her husband were expecting a baby.
A very high-level Sea Org member saw me one day and asked me what I was doing, and I said that I was leaving. And he said, why? And I said, I'm pregnant. And he said, oh, is it too late for an abortion? In like such a callous way, I didn't even know what to say in response. We're talking about a culture where they think that what they're doing is so important that everything else isn't important.
Lawrence remembers the relief he felt when his daughter Astra finally decided to leave the church.
I think that gradually started to seep in on her. Wait a minute, there's more to life than Scientology. That's when she just took off, just got the hell out of that rotten organization. Sorry, makes me upset to think about it. But.
Soon after Astra left, she divorced her husband, and she says she was disconnected from her family that was still in the church. A few years later, Astra's younger sister left. Now out of the church, Astra and Jenna and another ex-Sea Org member started their website, ex-Scientologykids.com.
It's just a way for people to share stories and to maybe reconnect with people who they knew before.
Reconnection was the theme of the latest anti-Scientology protest staged by the group.
Lisa McPherson, who is mentally unstable, according to Scientology, is having these people come in and try to force feed her, and she's yelling and screaming at them, she's banging on the wall, she's fighting with them, she's asking them questions, but they are not allowed to respond to her. All they can do is turn around and walk out the room and then write a report to the case supervisor and close the door behind them. And she's not allowed to leave.
The Scientologists never did call an ambulance, but on the 17th day, Lisa was at last taken to a hospital in a church van. It didn't take Lisa to the closest hospital, which was just a few blocks away, or the second closest, or the third, or even the fourth nearest for that matter. Instead, they drove to Newport Richey Hospital, 45 minutes away, and it was during those 45 minutes that Lisa McPherson died.
She certainly would have made it to the hospital that's only a few blocks down the road, alive, and where she would have been provided the appropriate care.
Why was Lisa taken so far away when it was clear that she was ill?
And I'm actually going to speak to you about a lot of people I know who died in Scientology. It's an amazing thing. A lot of people die in Scientology. I know 7 young people who've taken their own lives. They all were about 20, 21, young people. One of the first one I knew hung himself. And I mean, it was horrible. It was like, how could this be? I mean, it was really one of the first huge dents in my own Scientology Truman Show. It was like, how could a religion, how could children be taking their lives, right? And then another dear friend of mine who helped, he was a brilliant kid, Philip Gale. He jumped out the window, a 15-story window of MIT, which is a university here in the United States, on L.ron Hubbard's birthday. It was really a tragedy. Then another one of my very dear friends shot himself to death, and I was there when he died. I mean, it's horrible, right? And lots of my really good friends have died in Scientology. Okay, I'm really sorry. You know, they can say it's a religion, but the people that are the top auditors, I've talked to them and said, you know, what's the deal? Why are all these people dying, right? And honestly, it's too much to go into right now. And I'm sorry I'm crying. Really sorry. Okay. The deepest things for me, because these were like dear friends of mine. And I'm sorry I'm crying, but these were dear, dear friends of mine. My very best friend died. 2 of them, 3 of them, 4 of them. I can just start thinking about it. And the other thing that's really crummy is Scientology just sweeps them under the rug. Say, you're not going to believe it. And I'd say, what? And he'd say, and that these are all the other people that are dead now. And he would just list off these people, so-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so. And I'd be like, you're kidding. Because you don't hear about it. It's not like a real...
Doesn't even know they're out ethics? Shit, baby. We're talking about people don't even know they're enslaved. Joke. And if Scientology is real, then something's fucked up. Because it ain't delivering what it's promised. That's for goddamn sure. It is not. It says it delivers what it's promised. Where's the fucking clear? You're talking about OTs. Let me meet a motherfucking clear. I would like to meet a fucking clear.